Hey there everyone, and welcome to this week's market update. This last week in El Paso County, we saw a total of 226 new houses hit the market. We also saw 40 price increases, 170 price decreases. We saw 54 houses that went back on the market. That's houses that were under contract but didn't close out for one reason or another. And we saw a total of 503 houses that did close. So overall, the numbers this week have been pretty consistent of what we've been seeing the past 2-3 months. We saw about the same number of houses coming on the market. We saw a high number of houses being closed, a high number of houses that completely sold. But we've also seen that consistent high number in the 500s to 550 over the last couple of weeks, because all the sales that didn't happen in March and April are happening through June, through July, and I imagine are going to kind of spill over into August. We also saw about the same number of houses come back on market, so houses that were under contract that didn't close, that didn't make it all the way there for whatever reason. And roughly, we're also seeing the same number of price increases, price decreases. So I mean, overall, pretty much a stable market that we've been seeing the past couple months, even with everything that's been going on. And overall, we're seeing prices continuing to increase in El Paso County from this same time from last year. Across the nation, we're starting to see the pickup again of new homes. We're seeing a lot of permits being pulled for the new construction that's going on. Earlier this year, when I was helping a handful of people who were looking for new homes, there's quite a bit of lack of inventory for the new homes. And that's something we're still kind of seeing today. Early this year, there was a wait time of about 6 to 8 months, depending on where in the process houses were for new construction. And we really saw that pause during the shutdown because we didn't know where the market was heading, what was going to be happening, whether prices were going to drop, prices were going to go up, whether cost of materials was going to change. So there's a moment there where new construction really halted and they just continued moving on projects that were already underway. But from May to June, we did see an increase of 2.1% of new home permits, of new homes being built overall across the nation. One thing I've been running into the past couple months, and I'm seeing it become a little bit more prevalent and it's becoming something that's more of an issue that has to be addressed, is sellers that are working with tenants or tenants within the situation. So that's somebody who owns a house, who wants to sell it for one reason or another, who currently has tenants in it. Now, I've been on both sides of this the past couple months where I've helped people who wanted to sell, so we had to find a way to work with the tenants. And I've had many experiences where I'm working with a buyer where we're wanting to look at a house that has tenants. Now, when I'm working with a buyer, something that I'm running into again and again is a lack of communication. And what ends up happening is you have buyers coming at different times, people who want to look at the property, and the tenant is underinformed or they don't know what's going on. So you have people who show up to a house and maybe they're there, maybe there's animals present, and buyers are unable to look at the home. Now, unfortunately, not a lot of agents use enough tact in these situations because you want the cooperation of tenants. You want to help them through their process, help them with their transition if the house that they're living in is being sold. And when agents do kind of lack that communication, it does prevent other agents from showing it and from finding that right buyer, which could be a simpler and easier process. On the other hand, when I work with sellers, I do my best to communicate with tenants to really get them on our side. I want to help them with their transition, help them to find their new place, whether that's going to be renting or buying or whatever the case may be, because I want to be able to inconvenience them as little as possible. So for me, promoting it much ahead of time, letting people know like, hey, we've got tenants in here, so we've got a really small compact time where we want to have showings. And that requires extra work, that requires extra coordination. If you ask me, it's part of the agent's job, but unfortunately some selling agents out there do not put in enough work and enough effort to make sure that that's all worked out. That you get showings compacted into smaller times, into less days, to inconvenience the tenants as little as possible. And that is super important to get cooperation of the tenants, and it's especially important now with all the concerns that we do have with COVID, with cross-contamination, and all that sort. So having proper signage, really making sure that people are aware of what's going on in the house when they're showing. But that concludes this week's market update. If you guys have any specific questions on anything that I went over or any numbers that you'd like to see specifically, feel free to reach out, give me a call, send me a text, send me a message, and I'd be happy to help out. Thank you guys, and I will see you next week.